You know, there's a big difference between what feels bad and what is bad in poker. It feels bad that none of your bluffs worked yesterday. It feels bad that you lost 4 flips in a row. And it certainly feels bad that you bet called off that set of 7s on the straight completing card, even though probably you shouldn't have. Those things don't feel good. But they're not the things that are killing you. Most people who actually end up crushing a stake like 25-0 still make bad calls in certain spots when they have a good looking hand and they haven't processed the situation properly. Those same winning players have cooler sessions where they just get destroyed for 5 buy-ins. They have sessions where they can't win a flip. That isn't the problem. The problem is the long-term bigger picture. The problem is likely to be the red line. It's likely to be the fact that you're not investing enough money into the pot. There are many, many golden opportunities where you can invest way more money than you currently are, and you're just missing it. They're flying under your radar. And by doing so, you can truly improve your true EV. Which is, of course, the name of my series that is launching on the Carrot Corner subscription service very soon. We will have a launch date for you imminently. Until then, enjoy this video and open your mind to some areas where you can put more money into the pot and get out of that stake you're stuck at. Let's go. All right, let's do a little hand review on this topic. Let's make sure that we really understand this. We're not investing enough. It's an epidemic. It's killing you. I need you, my viewers, the people of this community, to be the ones who break free from the shackles of fear and pessimism and risk averseness that govern the human psyche and ruin poker careers. So we have the 6-7 of hearts to be 3-bet this time. You can also call. Not a massive deal. Many spots. There is a true EV of a line that is better than all the other lines. In most spots, in fact, that's the case. This one is very close to it not being the case. It's not super clear whether 3-bet to 11 or 3-bet to 12 or 3-bet to 10 or call is best, but they're all fine. We get 4-bet by a reg. Don't know if this is a good reg. Don't know if it's a bad reg. It's a reg. We peel. If you look at your range charts, 7-6 of hearts on GTO Wizard, I swear. I mean, the reason you can call here is just that the hand is super live. It's not because GTO Wizard says it's a call. There's plenty of hands that GTO Wizard says you should call a 4-bet with that are actually not good to call 4-bets with against humans. This isn't one of them. This is a hand that's super live. The cards are so low and free from the domination of villain's value range or bluffing range that, you know, against ace king off, we have a bunch of equity. We have like 42%. Is it more than that? What's our equity against ace king off? Let me know. We're also as live as we can be against overpairs, and we're doing fine against some of the other 4-bet bluffs, like the king queen off or whatever, king jack off, whatever. So we peel 7-8-3. We check, they check. I think when people build a checking range on this board, there are 2 things that can be going on. They can either be checking almost everything. There's 3 things actually. They could also be checking a fairly balanced range of some overpairs, some ace king and some air, waiting to bluff later. That's really unlikely. The most likely thing is that they are just massively weighted towards showdown value and just have ace king at a disproportionate frequency and don't have anything else as often as they should. And no, we're not being psychic. We're not like saying they have ace king only, but they're moving really, you know, towards ace king and stuff like that here. I think in reality is what's happening. But we're about to find out. If they bet the turn, ace king is going to go away. That's no longer going to be in their range for the most part, unless they bet like tiny, because ace king is of course not really a bluff or a value bet on this node. So if they bet the turn here, they're going to move back to being more polar again. They're going to have like the king jack that they're bluffing. They're going to have like the ace 4 that they're bluffing, stuff like this. They're going to have value bets of overpairs. Generally, the value range is just overpairs here. It's not a very thick range at all. And villain checks back again. So this is basically a face-up spot. The 3 river is just kind of poetic. So we effectively have the nuts, I would say. Not quite, because like there is the odd guy that checks back aces twice. You know, so it's possible. It's feasible. If you look at your GTO wizards, so I know you guys are always like sitting there just firing up GTO Wizard, verifying everything I say, going to the comment section, being the chat pro, putting on the chat pro hat, feeling like the big boss. Yeah, I know you're doing that. And when you do that, you'll probably see that some aces is meant to get to this node, I would guess. But not so much queens and not so much kings. Maybe a little bit kings, I don't know. But in reality, this range is going to be very capped. This range is effectively ace king. It's not king queen. It's not king jack. There's not really any double delayed bluffs here in the humans game, because humans don't construct their range that way. This is ace king, and if you check, they're probably going to check, and you're going to win 50 big blinds. And that's nice. It's good to know that you're about to win 50 big blinds, but that's not enough, is it? We need to win way more than that. This is a very easy value bet. If you check here, you don't deserve to play the game, truly. But it's okay because you can learn to deserve to play the game. You can get on the road to deserving to play the game by watching these videos and liking the videos with the like button that's on your screen. This sizing, that's a little bit pessimistic, honestly. Like, can I go smaller than this? Hell no. Definitely not going smaller than this. That'd be terrible. Could I go bigger than this? Yeah. I could go like pot here. I could even jam. Jam is kind of weird. Jam might just cause people to start like snapping out of their station mode and folding, but I could actually jam with a pair of sevens here. Because when you first start playing poker, you get hung up on absolute hand strength. You're like, well, it's a pair of sevens. Like, I can't go all in with sevens full. It's not that big a hand. But in relative hand strength, this is a huge hand. And I wonder whether like 48 is a better sizing. I think it probably is. I think going like huge here is probably better. And we know fine well that villain has mostly stuff like ace king on this node, and we have no reason to think they're going to fold it to a big bet, but I see my students block this river. They bet like 14 big blinds. Like, I'm going to go for some thin value. It's not thin. Your hand is almost always the best hand. There's nothing thin about a spot where your hand is almost always the best hand. So go a bit bigger here. Go bigger than I went. What a surprise. Shock horror. He had ace king. Next hand, we have ace king. It's our time to have big slick, which is a drawing hand, or so they said in 2001. We go ahead and 3-bet here. I guess this is SPR related, why we didn't go 12. I normally go 12 here, but who cares? 8-7-7. I think there's only one good line here. Pause the video and tell me what the good line is. Okay, so if by pausing the video you went to GTO Wizard and you tried to find out how to play this spot with an 80 big blind stack, you just wasted 7 minutes of your life. You wasted them. You're never going to get them back. Smoking like 2 cigarettes, it's about the equivalent of that. You just took 7 minutes off of your life. If you don't smoke, you may as well have lit up 2 cigarettes at once. Smoked them for 7 minutes. I think there's only one good line here in real life. I don't think there's really much to say. And that line is, of course, true EV. No, wait. Check jam. That line is check jam. And the reason that's the only line at this SPR is that check folding is horrible. That would be really, really, really bad. Betting is not that great because if you bet, hands you dominate are the main things that fold, and hands that beat you never fold, and it just kind of sucks. And like the bet getting jammed online sucks. I mean, maybe you call, maybe you fold, I don't know, but it's pretty terrible. But you don't get villain to invest with the absolute bottom too often, not in a way that's really good for you. Small bet and then check jam turn is okay. That's not a bad line against humans. Big bet is atrocious. Like if you big bet this flop, I think you would save more money by just like randomly breaking stuff in your house and buying new ones like every day. Like that's the kind of ethos that you should have if you just pot the flop here, for example. It's like waking up in the morning and you're about to put your glasses on. Let's say you have glasses, but you just smash them and then you order more on Amazon. That's kind of what you're doing. Do you order glasses on Amazon? I don't think so, but that's kind of what you're doing. It's so wasteful. It's so disrespectful to money. The reason you check here, always, as far as I'm concerned, is that weaker players in 3-bet pots is a mass data point. I'm going to give you some mass data points for free. You can get grade E of the Carrot Poker School if you want lots of mass data, but here's a freebie. In 3-bet pots on both the flop and the turn, recreational players stab a lot, guys. This is our little secret. When you check to them, they put money into the pot quite indiscriminately, and they put quite a lot of money into the pot. But here's the real catch here. Here's the real kicker. I don't just trap in dead money here when I check jam. I also make villain fold hands that beat me. And you might be looking at it thinking, no, you don't, Pete. You said he wouldn't fold better hands. That's if I bet. If I check jam, there are recreational players out there. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's most recreational players. Poker players have this weird block where everything has to be black and white and binary sometimes. And I'm like, to my students, what's the fold equity like against better hands than ace king? They'll say, oh, he's not folding that. He's not folding that. You just assumed that this one individual person isn't folding those hands. And maybe you're right about that one individual, but the pool contains thousands of people. And some of them bet here with nines. And then when you jam, they're like, oh, this guy has aces, kings, queens, and they fold. It's the minority of people, but it can happen. But the main reason you just check jam here is that you're never going to be in horrible shape here unless villain has a boat when you get it in. Usually your ace and your king are going to be live. And you've trapped in dead money from the bottom of your opponent's range. You could also check call. It's not horrible. That's a close second place. Check call is not that bad either. And then check jam like a bunch of turns. But it gets messy. And later on, villain will realize way more equity that way. The other good thing about check jam flop is that when he just has like jack 10, you just kill that hand stone dead with your jam. You make it fold. Basically, if villain has queen jack, it's again, there's a lot of live cards. 5-6, even ace 5, you know, is getting there sometimes against you. So the fold equity is decent. You're cleaning up here. It can never be too bad. And you're not risking much. So like if villain calls the other 54, you barely risked anything compared to the pot. Solvers are really clever. They're also really dumb, but they're really clever in a way. And the sense in which they're clever is that they understand SPR. So they're not like, oh no, it's 60 big blinds or whatever. They're thinking purely in terms of risk and reward, purely in terms of stack to pot ratio. And because the maximum I can lose here is villain stack, and there's already, if I call this bet, I'm obviously not folding. If I call this bet, there's already 44 big blinds in the middle, I'm not putting in that much more. I'm putting in just over pot on the flop with a bunch of equity and denial. And sometimes I get called by 10-9 or ace-queen and I just win. And sometimes I get sixes to fold, and it's just so win-win-win in so many different ways. And that's why check jam is the best play on this flop. And that's how you think about true EV. Okay, more hands. This one, oh, I didn't show you what happened. You're going to be absolutely furious right now. Just take a minute to process how furious you are. And now we'll move to the next hand and you'll never know. Just kidding. Villain folded. Next one, pocket sevens. I'm pretty sure you guys invest, by and large, less money than I do in this hand, and I do not think that that is a good thing. So we 3-bet sevens here against button. Button calls, king 9-4. We go for a small bet. Just really good multi-purpose solid bet. Massive range advantage to us. That's not why we bet sevens. We bet sevens because, like most hands, it's just not a mistake to bet here. And you are generating some fold equity that's useful. Like you're cleaning against ace 10 of clubs or ace 8 or something. That's 2 overcards. You are going to be able to bluff later on certain runouts. You'll be able to value bet when a 7 comes. You got massive implied odds. And you might make villain fold 8s or something sometimes as well. So like there's lots of okay stuff going on. You're making a small bet. It doesn't need to be like either clearly value or a bluff here. Not yet, but now it does. So now betting the turn is a no-no. People say, I'm going to polarize my range now, but they don't really explain what that means or why you should do that. The reason you shouldn't bet sevens is that all the better hands will call you and you'll just lose more money when you're behind. And moreover, hands will call you that don't even invest again if you check like 8s or 10s. Maybe 8s will fold here actually sometimes, that's the exception. But 10s, jacks, king X, you know, it's not folding. And you will not really get any value here either, because if you bet, most worst hands, if not all, will be folding. So very clear check. Villain bets, very easy call. Villain has not filtered much. They have a ton of floats here. Queen jack, ace 10, ace queen with backdoors, jack 10. You name it, lots of stuff. People even protection bet like 5 sometimes here, or ace 4. So we call. Check. Still got quite a lot of pot share at this point in the hand. And now villain does something really quite interesting. They bet 45 big blinds. This is a very clear call. This is a very winning call, in my opinion. And the reason for that is that the value region being repped here is really quite thin. I don't think humans actually do this with king jack or king 10 or king queen. Maybe they should do this with king queen, but I don't actually think that they go this big. In reality, some will, but a lot don't. And then there's so many combos of ace queen, jack 10, ace 10, queen 10. This is button small blind, ace x backdoor that floated flop like ace 5. There's just a lot of potential bluffs hanging around here, and there's very little value. The only value that's better than king x here is a 9, which is super unlikely, and may well even bet turn bigger sometimes, or pocket 4s or pocket 9s. So overall, having 30% equity here is really easy. If you made me guess, I'd say we win half the time here, maybe. Maybe 55% of the time, something like that. So to me, this is just a no-brainer. Like, I think we just win far more often in this spot than we need to. And the brain plays tricks on us, right? The brain tells us, like, if you're not winning most of the time, you can't call. That's not true. You need 30%. That's less than a third. Less than a third, guys. So this has got to be a call. And if you fold this spot, you do better than me. You don't get hurt by pocket 4s in the river. You fold this spot, you save money. Isn't that good? No, it's terrible. Because that would be a really bad fold in the long term. Trust me. This would be a really bad fold in the long run. And you might be looking at this and this results bias on your screen is hard to resist, right? I get it. And the reason I bring that up is that in your own sessions, in your own game, you're going to have countless spots where you feel magnetized by the results. So when you call here and you lose, you don't want to do it again. And stopping your brain from using that trauma of being called as a weapon to bludgeon you into submission and make you not call down again, stopping it doing that is really difficult. It's very hard, but that's what you've got to try to do. You've got to try to say, it's natural for me to not want to make calls like this again when I call and feel silly. But this call with sevens, like, even without getting into the weeds of the unblocking all of the bluffs thing, that's just 2%, that's 3%. That's not what's important. What's important is that this is an overbluff spot, and there are overbluff spots. There are overbluff spots in single raise pots, there are overbluff spots in 3-bet pots. As long as you've left your opponent's range relatively wide with your action sequence, and we've not filtered them at the bottom very much at all. They've kept the gut shots that missed and stuff like that. Ace jack, ace queen, etc. Ace 10, so much stuff. Massively overbluff spot, probably bluffed more than half the time here for the sizing, because there's a real scarcity of value combos with the size. I'd villain bet like all in here. It makes a bit more sense strategically because like if you have a 9 or pocket 4s, you need to jam. You should be jamming. And if you're not, you have to ask yourself what on earth you're doing. Because those hands are the nuts and you're in position on the river against the condensed range, you need to be jamming. So villain jammed here. I have a real decision. I'm probably still going to call. I still think it's over bluff. But the fact that I only have to lose 45 big blinds the time he actually has 4s, and I do so well in this spot in the long term, is testament to just how good a call this is. And you can be watching this thinking, look at this guy bragging about a call when he lost the pot, but that's what you need to be able to do to be good at poker. You have to be able to identify the times you played well and lost from the times that you played badly and lost or played well and won. And there's times I win hands where I'm like, God, that was so bad as well. I make big mistakes and did that on stream today. My buddy Akshar and I were reviewing hands with Sam DeLam as well. 3 of us were going over hands and they were berating me for a couple of things. They're like, Pete, look, you just bet way too small in that river. I'm like, I know. I was 4-tabling. I messed up, you know? So don't think that I'm like some kind of coach that just only wants to show good stuff. Like, this is good stuff. But this lost, and there's bad stuff that wins. And when you divorce yourself from that results feedback bias, like you just free yourself. You can actually grow as a poker player. You can break out of that delusional mist that holds so many of us back. This is about making sure you get enough value. A bit like the first hand we looked at. We open queen 10 off on the button. We get called by the big blind. We flop it straight. Or he's only showing us hands where he wins. I get that so much in the comments. I'm like, man, if you could just go back and look at some other videos. There's so many losing hands. This isn't likely to be a losing hand. It could be. Could be. Don't want to spoil it. We could still lose here. So we go big here. 1/3 is really bad here. Like 1/3 is bad. I'm just going to come out and say it. 1/3 is terrible. And if you look this up in GTO Wiz, 1/3 will be fine. But against a weaker player, 1/3 is terrible here. They have a very rigid and elastic range. They will not be folding the hands they're required to fold to a big bet here. And for 1/3, they're probably even, I don't know, folding too much, I would say. So this is the sizing for sure. Something like this. Don't 1/3 here. Copying solvers here is just brain dead and awful. Don't do it. 6 of clubs on the turn. Now I misclick. I promise you guys. I swear to God I misclicked here. This wasn't just bad sizing from me. I tried to make it 9.6 or something like that. That's what I was going for. I was going for this like just under 10 kind of thing. I could go bigger as well. I probably maybe even should go 11 or 12. I don't know. I don't really want to go above pot on the flush turn for obvious reasons. Like it's just going to cause a bit too much filtration. It's unnecessary. I just don't need to do that. But I'm going to go like 9.5, 10, something like that. I misclicked down to 8 and I was like, God damn it, that's too small. But it's fine. Now we can value bet river really big. We can consider jam. But villain leads half pot, and this weirds people out when they see this, man. This weirds me out when I first look at it, because if I've studied a bunch of theory, and I have, I know that, like, okay, this is an absurd thing to even think about happening in theory, because it wouldn't. But what this would be in theory is like some really polar range, right? Or like more polar than real life. In real life, you have to hand read this for what it is. You have to use the good old adage of bet size equals hand strength. Bet size equals hand strength. Recreational players, whom we refer to as fish on Carrot Corner. And we're not going to change. We're not going to be fazed by your attempts to cancel us. We're going to call them fish. They don't take this line with a flush very often. Now they do sometimes. Sometimes you jam all in here. Guy snaps the nut flush and you're like, I'm such an idiot. Oh. And that is the problem. Not your play, but that reaction is the problem. Hands up, who's done that? If you actually put your hand up there, kudos to you. That means you're really focused and you're learning. That's like kinesthetic learning. You're like so in the zone, you put your hand up. That's amazing. If you didn't put your hand up, shame on you. So we jam. Because this is usually 2 pair or 1 pair. It's a merged range. It's what we call a merged range, meaning loads of middling stuff. Sometimes it's even a set. And, you know, you can have all kinds of bad thought processes here. You can say, what's going to call me? If I go in whatever the hell he has, it doesn't matter. It's the fish that's down to his last 37 bigs. So this one we did win, although if we'd ran into a flush, I'd still be saying how good the play was. I would. It's the same thing. I'm not judging the play by the result at all. This is irrelevant. When I'm going over hands on stream, I skip the result because that's what I do in coaching. I'm like, the student's like, oh, do you want to guess what you had? I'm like, I don't care what you had. We're moving on to the next hand, mate. We're not even going to look at it. We've solved the spot. Let's go. Let's not waste your coaching time on that. That's for YouTube. Results are for YouTube because you guys make me. That's why we do results here, because you make me do it. Last hand. It's so important to get value. It's so important to make sure that your bet sizes are reasonable, that they're gradually building the pot, and that you end up all in by the river. Not ending up all in by the river here would be criminal with a value hand. Queen Jack 9. Amazing board for our range. We have queens, jacks, queen jack, king 10, pocket nines, all that beautiful stuff. We have lots and lots of value here. We have ace queen, we have kings, we have aces. We have so much stuff we can just triple off. And so we start with a small bet and villain calls. The turn is the 6 of spades. We make sure our value bet is sized somewhat geometrically. We're going about half pot here to go about 2/3 on river. It's not like perfectly the same sizing on each street. It doesn't have to be. Just something like this is fine. And then it all goes in the river. It's easy. Think of all the value combos we have. We have jacks, we have queens, we have nines, we have kings, we have aces, we have king 10, we have queen jack, we have jack 9 suited, we have sixes. That's so many value combos. If you don't bluff in this spot often, when you have like ace king, ace 10, God, there's hardly any bluffs here. What are our bluffs here? Just ace, king, ace, 10? I guess that's quite a lot of combos because opposite ones. But yeah, you really do have to go at it with those really often just to reach a decent bluff frequency. Villain's going to have a load of call folds now. Unfortunately, this spot, our fold equity is going to be quite high, right? So getting paid here is going to be pretty difficult, like, because we are just going to see snap folds from king, jack, jack 10, pocket 10s, 10, 9, queen 10. We're going to see plenty of folds from hands like this. Sometimes villain just has like queen, jack, or pocket 9s and he calls down, but this is an overfolded spot for sure. So, you know, we're not thrilled about it. We have a value shove. Wait, did I not show our cards? Better look at what we had. Oops, we were bluffing. And we got owned by 10-9. God, maybe this was spew. Maybe this was really bad poker. What if I'm a fish? You see how easy it is to not assess the spot objectively when your bluff gets called? Like, if you're playing that hand, you're not looking at that through the objective lens we just did. We were thinking about our value. We were thinking about what it would do. We're thinking about how the fact it's not super easy to be bluffing a ton, although I guess ace king's a hell of a lot of combos. But yeah, we were thinking about it from the point of view that like villain does have loads of call folds and we are going to get a fair amount of fold equity with that shove. And that's the objective analysis. That's why the shove is fine. You can look this up in a solver. It's definitely going to be fine in a solver. This is definitely okay. I can say that without even looking at it. If I'm wrong about that, I will eat this microphone. Should I have committed to that? Am I that certain? Microphone's really difficult to eat. Like, I wouldn't recommend it. No, let's hope I'm right. If I'm not right, I'm going to renege on that bet. Just so you know, not that honourable. Pretty honourable, not that honourable. I'm going to eat a mic. Point being, you have to be aggressive in these spots where your range is really strong and your hand is really weak. And episode 1 of True EV, the first episode of the True EV series, dropping on Carrot Corner, the start of March 2024. It's going to be like 10 episodes on there, I hope, by the time we launch. But episode 1 is all about spots where you have a strong range and a weak hand and what you should do there. This call with 10-9. Got him. What can you say? This guy gets to show his friends. Stack that carrot guy from YouTube. Look, I caught him bluffing. Good for you, my friend. I'm happy for you. Genuinely am, because I know by making this play over and over again, it's good. And I'm happy to show it to the audience. And your call is, I don't think it's great, because like if you look at this in a GTO sense, am I over bluffing this spot? I don't think I'm over bluffing this spot. It's quite hard to over bluff this spot, especially if I give up with a spade in my hand, which I maybe don't, honestly, but should in theory sometimes with ace of spades, I guess. But anyway, it's not the point. The point is 10-9 a good call down? Against pool? No. Not against pool. Against me, maybe. Against pool, this is probably hemorrhaging, but then people know who I am, and this is where it gets all weird. I have the whole Easty problem, where his whole life is dictated by how famous he is. He can't walk down the street without being exploited. Like, he goes to like a hot dog stand, and they're like, oh, you're Easty, I know who you are, we're in the same pool, and they exploit him and charge him more money. So that sucks, right? When you're in a small pool and people know who you are, and you're that famous. And in this pool, there are people waving at me and then hero calling me and stuff like that happens, but I want to factor that in because it's not most people. I'm not that famous, unfortunately. Anyway, I digress, I rant. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope you can see what's required to get a graph where the red line actually goes up the way and not down the way, or at least is level. The goal, by the way, when you have a bad graph is not to suddenly go to being like a steamrolling redlining player, but it's really to go to like leveling it off. So you've got the negative blue line, try and level it off a bit. That's what I would advise. Okay, we're a couple of weeks away. Are we? We're probably like 1 week away now when this is dropping from the subscription service launching. I hope you will join me for that. And I hope you're looking forward to True EV, the new coaching series, and loads of content from our other professional poker players and coaches at Carrot Corner. We'll see you back here on YouTube very soon. And yeah, put more money into the pot. It might just save your game. Bye, guys.